Okay. Thank you all for coming. I want to welcome Charlotte, Randal, Yerke, Script Supervisor on Little House on the Prairie back in the day that they were filming. We are so happy to have you. Please have the warmest of welcome for you.
Thank you very much, Robin. I appreciate all that you've done to make this happen, and thank you all for being here. I'm excited to share a little bit of my time while I was part of the crew on Little House. I was a member of the crew for 8 years. I started during the middle of the second season and through the middle of the ninth season. I left when I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter. Um, but it was just a incredible time. It's hard to explain how it was. I was 20 years old when it started, and my best friend Mary, her mother was the script supervisor on the show, and the show would go on location. We would go up north a lot to Sonora, Jamestown area, and you could take your family with you. So Mary Yerke, my future mother-in-law, took Mary and I with her. And we were up there about a week. They were filming the camp out for that location shoot. And when we came back, she said, "I'm going to take you to work with me, and I'm going to train you." And so she did. She took me to work with her, and I sat right next to her, and I learned from all these incredible professionals that worked on Little House. Many of the crew worked with Michael and Kent, who was our producer, Kent McCrae, during Bonanza and then Little House and then on to Highway to Heaven. So it was a family. Everybody cared about each other. Everybody uh, knew about their family. I have pictures of my wedding. Many of the crew came to my wedding. Melissa Gilbert, Matthew Laborto, and Patrick Laborto came to my wedding. We were truly a family. So uh, a little bit about my job description. So my title at work was dialogue coach because I wasn't in the union, and while I was there, there was always a main script supervisor, but I learned the task of script supervisor. So for my job description of dialogue coach was my responsibility was to run lines, rehearse lines with actors if they chose to work with the director, and if the director wanted to change any dialogue or cut dialogue, it was my responsibility to make sure that the actors knew that. And then while it was being filmed, to follow along with my script and make any little changes, dialogue changes, any little ad libs, things like that. And then anything major, if something dialogue was cut out, it was my responsibility to let the director know. And then once that shot was finished, if something was left out, I would let the director know, and then they would decide if they needed to reshoot it. A lot of detail work. Like I said, you're sitting right next to the camera, watching everything the camera does. As script supervisor, I always say that the script supervisor's script, which goes to the editor, is like the editor's journal. What it does, it records everything the camera is doing. So while they're setting up the shot, you would go over to either cinematographer or the camera operator, and you would ask them to uh, describe the shot. So then you would go back to your script, and Robin has some pictures of one of my original scripts.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then
And so,
let me go get it. Here we are. Here we are.
you would go back, and our scripts were in a 3-ring binder. We had a ruler on a string. This is what our scripts would look like. We would get them a week ahead. and bring them home, break them down, because you had to break them down day, night. We never shot in order. So we would film at the sound stage, maybe 3 days per episode, and then on location the other days. So we would break down the script. So um,
I have pictures here of Charlotte.
okay,
With
that's
her
me on location. Um, there we filmed, as you guys know, our film, the town was built in Simi Valley off of Tapo Canyon Road there in Simi Valley off the 118. And we would drive there and film there. I feel like I'm getting off track, but
Okay, I'm sorry.
if
I'm sorry.
Robert, that's okay. If you can bring up one of the, and then maybe we can come back to these pictures
Okay.
and then I could show you the script just so that you kind of understand what it looks like when it's being used during the filming.
There you are, 21 years old. It's amazing.
Yes, yes. Okay, so this is one of my working scripts here. So on the left side of the screen is all my personal notes. It shows you the description of the shot, um, when it was being filmed, we had a stopwatch, and when they said action, we would start that stopwatch. When they said cut, we would stop it, and then we would record how much time each scene, each camera shot took, and then we would circle the one that was printed. Um, and and then on the right side is all my notes during the shooting. The straight line with my ruler, my pencil means that everybody is in camera. That was usually the master shot. Then when you see the line that's got a straight line and a wiggly line, that the straight line, that person is on camera. The wiggly line is off camera. So a two shot or over the shoulder shot. So, and then you can also see in the margin on that right side a wardrobe. Part of a script supervisor's job was continuity. Like I said, we didn't shoot in order. So if we were filming out on the ranch and somebody walked into a building with a cup in one hand and their hat in the other, 2 days later, when we're on the soundstage filming them walking into that building and being in that building, that all had to match. So a lot of continuity. Um, some ad lib was okay if it didn't change the actual dialogue that was needed to be done. It could stay in there.
We'll go on to
Uh,
the next slide. Here's another. This is
So this was our daily shooting schedule. We got this the week before, and it was broken down. We usually did about 7 pages of shooting per day. Each episode took 7 working days. We worked Monday through Friday. Uh, uh, so you can see what this shows is what scenes we would be filming, the cast what that was needed, and then livestock, props, things like that. So that just helped the crew know what we were doing for that day. Does anybody have any questions? I don't want to go too far without stopping for
Robin?
questions, or if
Yeah.
you want to just wait till the end to ask, it's up to you. But
Oh, Robin, can you enlarge uh like that original script thing? Can you enlarge it?
let's see. If I can't, then
I
um,
think it's above it.
you might be able to. I can zoom on it with my,
Oh, okay.
try that
I
maybe.
wanted to see the first
Oh, there's if you look on the right side of
That's the
the
right
pro
side. So you can see the right side. I've written, like I said, we would go up to the cinematographer or the camera operator and ask him to describe the shot that they would be doing.
yeah,
So the
that's
first one, it says Mrs. Bates wraps her baby.
hold on.
Uh,
I got it.
so
I made it bigger. I just
so
have to scroll up.
yeah, so a close-up shot close shot would be just the baby. A two shot, so a single is just Lou. This is from the script Little Lou with uh Barney Barney, oh gosh, I'm going blank. But he played the little, and his wife died in childbirth, and it was the ninth season. So a single Lou would be just a shot of Lou, and whoever he was talking to would be off camera, and Lou is looking camera left to right. So the person he's talking to is going to be looking right to left. I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yes.
And then you can see, so the master shot would be number 15. And that would be the whole shot. Everybody in that scene would be in that shot. And then we would time it, and then you can see what's been printed, it's been circled, and how long that was, like 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Each episode took 47 minutes of film time. That's not including the opening credits, the ending credits, and commercials. So part of a script supervisor's responsibility is the timing. And every day a log would go to the editors, so they would know as we progress shooting the episode if we were good on time, if we were too much on time, if we needed to cut things like that. So a lot of that, was just an ongoing as we were filming the episode.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for helping me find the magnifying glass to make everything bigger.
It sounds really complicated.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, a lot of, but I'm a visual learner, and we would set up a shot. It would take 15, sometimes 15, 20 minutes to set up the shot. So there was a lot of that going on. And then once it filmed, I mean, sometimes it was 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And everything. But so you can see on the right side, it's got the end, that's for night. And we would mark all that. Like I said, the continuity was very important because we never shot anything in order. We would shoot all our interior sets at the soundstage. We started at Paramount Studios, and then we moved to MGM, which is in Culver City. Now it's Sony Studios. At Paramount, we were at stage 30 and 31. We had two stages. And then when we moved to MGM, we were at stage 15, which is also the stage where they filmed The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, wow.
What did you sort of plan on this being what your career was going to be? Did you have any schooling before you got involved in
I was
this?
taught right on the job.
Did you ever become a union?
My mother-in-law took me to work and just trained me right there.
No, I said, did you ever join the union?
No, I did not, because I didn't stay. After I had my daughter, I didn't go back. And then I went back to school and got my early childhood development degree. So this was really only Michael Landon Productions that I worked on was Little House. And then in our off season, we would work usually from May to January we would film, and then we'd be off from middle of January to about the beginning of May. And Michael would do some movies of the week. He did The Loneliest Runner. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was kind of a biography of his life.
Yeah, that's what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. He had a a rough childhood, and people often say that Little House was kind of like the childhood that he wanted but never had. So we would do things like that, location, and then start right back up in May. We would usually shoot about 22 episodes a year, 22 to 24, which is a lot compared to now. Plus, all our episodes were filmed, no video. And if you notice, excuse me, All of my notes, everything are in pencil. Nowadays, everything's digital by a camera, by a tablet. You know, this is old school for this. What's on the screen right now? Sorry.
So do they have
Is our call?
do they still have a position such as yours?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Very important position.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's just done differently, but it's still the same. We had an event, a Simi reunion last December in Simi Valley at Strathern Historical Park. I don't know if anybody's ever been there, but I was there with my scripts and I had a table and I was talking about my time on Little House, and I had this family come up, and their older daughter was in school to become a script supervisor. And she was fascinated at seeing how it was done many years ago. You know, she said, and it's true, it's like a lost art.
Yeah.
You know, this just isn't done like this anymore. So what's on the screen right now is our call sheets. We would get these were done by our second assistant director. And this was done by our second assistant director, and he would pass these out the day before. And what you can see is that, oh,
Oops, sorry. Can you see the screen? So,
Can you make it a little bigger?
yeah. And thank you, Rachel, for helping us
No
find
problem.
the.
Oh,
Good.
Charlotte, you're muted.
That's good.
You're muted, Charlotte. Okay.
there you go. Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what Robin's showing now is our call sheets. So this one is for when we were filming out at the ranch. This is all our exterior scenes. So we would get these the day before of this shooting date. And what it's showing is all the scenes that we would be filming those days. And then as you scroll down, it would show what cast was needed, their time call, because they would go to makeup and hair before they would come to work on the set. As you can see, when we were at the ranch, a lot of cast is needed. We had a lot of extras as the town people, plus a lot of wagons, livestock. We had a gentleman, his name was Denny Allen, and he lived in Lakeview Terrace, and he brought all our wagons and the livestock and the horses to the set. The crew call time was usually 7:30 in the morning at Simi Valley, where the ranch was. There was a huge parking lot that we would pull into, and then we would have a shuttle. We had this, it was called a stretch out. It was like a long station wagon with like probably maybe 6 bench seats. And we would load into that, and then we would be driven to where we were filming for that day. On the ranch,
Do you want to stay on this
Sorry.
one? Do you want to stay looking at this one, or should we?
so your stand-ins, sorry, I'm gonna get a cough drop real quick. I'll be right back.
No problem.
It's pretty cool to see all the actors' names and
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
their names, and then here's their characters.
Yeah.
And that's where the twins were. Carrie twins. Slowly and surely, little pieces are coming back.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So you can see it says atmosphere and stand-ins. So stand-ins are usually used for the main characters of the cast. stand-in is usually the same height and build as the actor or actress, and they are used when all the lighting is done, so that the actors don't have to stand while they're setting up the shot.
Oh,
And then when we be on the ranch, like I said, there was much more atmosphere extras that were needed. Also, if you notice down at the bottom, you'll see two names, Helen Manier. They're typed Helen Manier, and if you go over just a little more towards,
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go,
oh
Helen
yeah.
Manier. Those were our two set teachers, welfare workers, because we had a lot of children on our show. There's California labor law, and children are only allowed to work for a total of 3 hours a day. And then they have schooling time and then, free time and everything. But we had two social workers on our, and why we would be on the ranch, the church schoolhouse set had tables inside so that they could go to school while we were there at the ranch. And then while we would be at the soundstage, they had a room for the kids to go to school.
Oh, that's cute. That's
And
really
then at the
awesome
bottom,
that you guys
yeah,
had that for them. That's cool.
well, yeah. And then at the very bottom is just what we're doing for the next couple days. And then you can see who, just Dexter and Middle, Maury Dexter and Miles Middle were our first assistant directors. They were the ones that kind of just keep everything going. And when everything's ready to go, then the director takes over and says action, and the filming begins.
Really cool.
And then on the back side, oh, this is the front piece of when we were on the stage. So the same type of thing. What scenes would we be filming for this episode? What time the cast needed to be there? Um, Everything. You can see the names that were crossed out. They weren't just in that day of shooting. They didn't need to be there. So they had a makeup, hair time, and then a set call. Some actors were in a lot of the scenes and some only a few. So it all depends on what we were shooting for that day.
Mm.
Hal Burton's name, that was Michael's double. He wasn't so much a stand-in, he was more a double, like riding the horse and something like that. Michael did ride a horse, but they were pretty careful with using the cast on things like that in case of injury, that he didn't want that to happen.
What great little details that, we wouldn't necessarily
Yes.
know. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. So go ahead.
Oh, so this is how the set looked in Simi Valley. The buildings were sets. They were, a full building outside, but no really interior. The only building that was pretty well dressed on the ranch was Ocean Mercantile and the restaurant, because you could see, because of all the windows that were there, you could see pretty much into them. So on the uh, right of your screen, that's how we would came on those first buildings right there are the blacksmith shop and the post office on the far side.
Hold on, sorry. I tried to zoom in.
That's okay. Maybe go down a little bit. Yeah. Uh, the post office and Doc Baker's house. The one with the brown roof is the bank. And then you can see the mill right there. And then uh, Nellie's Restaurant up a little bit, and then Olson's Mercantile. And the tree in the center of town that had the bench around it is still there on the ranch.
Oh,
It has
wow.
survived 50 years on the ranch. It's smaller, but it's still there. And it's really nice to see that because that was really a focal point for our town and everything. And then above, you can't see it, but above, between Nellie's Restaurant and Hanson's Mill, there was a walkway path that went up to a plateau area up there. And up there is where our honey wagons, which are the dressing rooms, bathrooms, were parked, and our catering truck. Because when we went out to the ranch, everything had to be brought in. There was no electricity, no running water, nothing like that. So we had a catering truck, and then there was a big red barn, and I believe it was from a set from Gunsmoke, maybe. But that's where we would eat our lunch when we were out on the ranch. Um, but yeah, just a great place to be. You know, it was seamy, it was hot and dusty. Um, and during the summer and during the winter, it was very cold. I have pictures of me in a parka being out
I,
in
I
Simi
have
Valley County.
I have a question. Since you had
Sure.
no electric, you had to been using generators for the camera and all that stuff. Wouldn't that be
Well,
noisy?
they for the lights. For
Right.
the lights, they used the generators, but the generator parked and they had cables, big long cables that they would hook up. They also had reflectors that would reflect off the sun that would
Yeah.
give them light. And remember, we didn't do any night shooting whatsoever at the ranch. All our night shooting was done on the at the sound stage.
Well,
Oh,
I guess what I'm wondering is you had dialogue there, out in the village area. So how did you do that and it was quiet enough if you didn't have electric?
Well, if sometimes we would wait for an airplane to fly over, but they also went back to the studio and they dubbed.
Oh, right. Okay.
So
okay.
they would do if they needed to do that.
Okay,
You
that
know,
makes
they would run the dailies every day and then they would see if they needed to dub anything.
okay.
Or Foley's, they would, if you know what Foley's are?
No.
Yeah.
Foley's are where they make sound, like with somebody walking on a
Oh,
cobblestone.
oh yeah.
That
Oh yeah.
somebody would go in with shoes, the same thing, and walk on that. So they have ways of helping the sounds,
Muffling sounds,
especially
yeah.
if you're filming outside.
Yeah.
So the dailies were a review of the film shot the previous day. What were the dailies?
Dailies were what we filmed every day. So
Okay.
at the end of our shooting day, Michael, the director, the editors would watch everything that we filmed that day. And then they would decide, that's when they would decide if they needed to reshoot something or something like that. And the script supervisor's notes for that day went to the editors at the end of the episode. We had a daily shooting log that went in, so they knew which scenes were shot, how much time each, and a total amount for that day. So that was like a daily cutting log that went to the editors. So this picture right here is one of our production trucks that we would take with us on location. They would go with us up to the ranch, or if we filmed different places. We filmed a lot up in Tuolumne County, Sonora, Jamestown. Jamestown was where the railroad was, the number 3 train. And then we also filmed in Tucson, Arizona, a lot. There was a Western down there, and Tucson also had a sound stage. So a lot of the saloon scenes and stuff like that were filmed at Tucson. So we would go on location out of town maybe 2 or 3 times a year for a couple of weeks at a time. So this is a great way of showing you being on the sound stage and what can happen on the sound stage. This is from the episode The Blizzard. This is all on the sound stage. So
So
what you're
cool.
seeing is the special effects. The man standing, he's standing on top of a very large wind fan, and the boxes they're holding are boxes filled of shredded plastic. And that's what they use to make it look like snow. And trust me, that shredded plastic went everywhere. We had it in our hair, we had it in our teeth, we had it everywhere.
Oh
But
no.
that's how it made it look like snow. And all of that is just like I said, done on the soundstage.
Could you repeat the places in California? You said Jamestown and Tuolumne, and where?
Kennedy Meadows, Tuolumne,
Oh,
yeah,
oh my
mostly
goodness.
there. We did a little bit. We did something behind Magic Mountain, but I can't remember exactly. We also filmed at Disney Ranch in Santa Clarita. If you ever see pictures of the covered bridge, that's at Disney Ranch there in Santa Clarita. We filmed, I wrote notes. Like I said, Old Tucson, a lot there. Um, and then, of course, a lot in Sonora, Kennedy Meadows, Columbia. We just had
Okay.
a little house event last June in Columbia. We used that area a lot. Um, and then we would use different studios for their Western streets. Warner Brothers was where the blind school was when Mary met Adam, and
Yeah.
we were introduced to Hester Sue. That was at Warner Brothers backlot. Paramount had a Western lot, and we also use on Hollywood Way. It's all gone now, which is really sad. Almost all the Western lots on studios are gone. Also, there was Columbia, which was on Hollywood Way. We used that also there.
It was so much fun. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for sharing and
My
opening
pleasure.
our eyes. Just, you know,
So this we had our big 50th reunion in Simi Valley in 2024, a 3-day event that there were 18,000 people over the 3 days that came. And this was I was in part of a memorabilia exhibit along with Danny Sanchez and Rachel Greenbush, and Robin Greenbush, who played Carrie, baby Carrie. And what you're seeing in this case right here was Almanzo's hat, his shirt, and suspenders. So we have things showcased for the fans to see. The dress you're seeing here is a remake of a dress that Carrie would have worn, but it's not an original. A lot of the originals were, just it came from Western costume. It was, once the show was over, they didn't really, stay within it. I know Melissa had one of her dresses and then she sold it at an auction. And then someone recently just bought one of the blue dresses that the girls was and restored it and had it at our event at Strathern Ranch last December. Some of the costumes are at Tucson, Arizona. They have a studio, and like I said, they do have some of the costumes there. But other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot around. People just didn't save many things. And when we were getting ready to do the Simi Valley event, I reached out to several of the cast, and not many people have things. You don't think to save things then.
You
It's
said,
one of those things that
yeah, you
you
said
don't think about it when it's happening.
Yeah.
you said you had, was it 18,000 or 1,800 people? So was there a fan club?
18,000.
Was there
18,000.
right? Was there a
So
fan?
this hat right here, this is one of Michael's original hat that Dean wore in the last season of the show. So that is one of Michael's hats that he did wear during the show.
So was there a fan club or something? How would they have that many people?
Well, it was put on by Little House and also the Chamber of Commerce of Simi Valley.
Oh, okay.
So it was a big event. It was at the Santa Susana Community Center, the park. There were period vendors, there was panels, there were autograph room, there were replicas of the inside interiors of the Little House, the school, church, and Olson Mercantile. We have several super fans. We have a gentleman, Eric Caron, who lives in Canada, who is a wealth of knowledge. A lot of some of the stuff you're seeing, he can pinpoint where everything's been filmed and tell you exactly what episode it was and where it is.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just, it's amazing that we never thought when we were filming that it would be this popular. It's never gone off the air. It's been on the air all these years, and seen, I think, in 120 countries, I believe. Um, so one of the things we did for the 3-day festival in uh, March of 2000 was to have bus tours up to the ranch because people are always interested in that. And when we did that, we wanted to have people, feel like they were there. So one of our friends, Olin de La Paz, who is a set designer and set artist, got together and with Eric's help built 15-foot facades of the little house, the barn, the blind school, the Garvey house, and all the main buildings in town. And so during the 3-day festival, we had bus tours up to there. This is a picture of me. I was a tour guide going up to the up to the ranch so that I could not only share about the buildings and everything, but about my time up there. So each bus would go up and so the ranch is in Seaman Valley, like I said, it's off of Tapo Canyon, and you can see these are the facades, like I said, and the facades were placed exactly where those buildings were when we were filming them. That was part of the GPS that Eric did and everything to place them right. And then they went in and they had to clear all the land because everything's grown, wild, and everything's dirt. It's only a dirt road. There's no paved road. There's no water. We would have a water truck that would wet down the dirt road so it wouldn't be so dusty. So all these things had to be done before we could even get the facades up there. But then for the 50th, like I said, they had the facades made and placed exactly where the little house would have been, the barn would have been, the Garvey Edward house would have been, where all the buildings in the town were, starting with the post office, Doc Baker's house, at Hanson's Mill, Nellie's Restaurant, um, the schoolhouse, Olson's Mercantile, the Feed and Seed. So this is me at the ranch. This is to the that big tree right there was where Plum Creek was, the little creek. All brought in, the water was brought in. There was no real creek there. The tree is still standing. That's where it was. So it's really nice to see these things that were part of our home. That's what we felt the ranch was our home. We were there so much. And to go there, the first time I had been back after I left in 82 was in 2016, and nothing was there. There were no facades or anything. And I could see where everything was because it was such a main part of my life. It was really wonderful to be able to go back there and to be there. The land is beautiful during the springtime. The mustard grows wild. And I say, anytime I see mustard, it always reminds me of the ranch because that is one of my favorite memories of being there. Just
Can you Can you visit the Big Sky Movie Ranch?
Unfortunately, no, it is a privately owned and it is still a working movie ranch.
Oh,
Um, they did open it for the festival, and then for the rest of the year they did bus tours up there. Um, but as of now, no. The ranch does have the facades. The problem is it's like $6,000 just to open the gate to get into the ranch. So it's not cheap, and it's just something that I don't know if they'll do it again. If they do, I'll let you know, but it's just so this was the brochure that my friend Eric Crone put together. So you can see this is what people would have seen on the way. So on the left of your screen at the very bottom, that is the Edwards Garvey home. And then the one there in the middle of the big home, that was the blind school, the one that burned down, and then into the town. So from the little house on the ranch, from the little house to the town was actually about a mile distance.
I'm sorry, can I backtrack just a second? When was that
Oh, of course.
50th anniversary? What year was that 50th anniversary?
March of 2024. That was our 50th anniversary
Thank you.
of the show being aired.
Wow.
And I was on the committee. So these are some of the pictures of the facades that were, like I said, were 15-foot front facades that were made and painted and placed exactly on the ranch where they were when we were filming for the people on the bus tour to see.
hmm.
So they were placed and then they were taken down?
Well, some of them, like the Little House barn, Garvey's, and the Blind House, were still up, but the last windstorm we had a few months ago, they blew down. The ones in town are still up because the town is kind of set in like a valley, so it had protection of that. So as far as I know, those are still up. So you can see here is the church, and then Olson's Mercantile. The big building at the bottom is the Feed and Seed, and then of course the bank there.
So you still have access to the property yourself?
I don't have access.
Oh, you were mentioning some of the stuff was still there. I was wondering how you knew.
Well, because I know and I've heard that because of people that have contact with the people at the ranch. But the ranch is locked for one thing. You couldn't even drive on to where we go, and it's also a working movie ranch, so they still film things there.
Wonderful. You were talking
And
talking about
what you
committee?
what
You were talking about it being on a committee?
we started wanting to do something for the 50th way before the pandemic, and went out there with the chamber, Kathy, the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and a few other people, Rachel Greenbush and her husband Danny, and friend Olin, and just kind of, started dreaming about what we could get done and do. And it just kind of snowballed from then. And we had no idea that there would be that many people there. 18,000 people. And it was wonderful. At the park, there was a huge tent for panels. There were panels each day. There was a tent that was showing episode. There was an outside tent that on Sunday morning we had a church service with Ketty Lester. If you know Ketty Lester, she played Hester Sue on the show. She sang and gave a great message. There was an area in the park where there are period vendors like blacksmith and people on just all kinds of period vendors. And then inside the big gymnasium is where we had the 3 interior sets. And then we also had the memorabilia. And then we have a lady whose name is Laura Ingalls Gunn, and she's a descendant of Charles Ingle, and she's also an amazing seamstress. And she has recreated a lot of the costumes from the show. So just a lot of things. It was an incredible experience. It was a lot. I think we were all exhausted after a week afterward, but so worth it. And just to hear what the show has meant to so many people is just very heartwarming and very touching. You know, a lot of people say that this show saved their lives, that they were in such a place and that was their safe place to go. And people say that especially during the pandemic, that it was just good TV. And you know, Michael touched on subjects, especially during the 70s, that people didn't even talk about it, but he touched on subjects with respect and a way of bringing them to light, and you know, sharing that with people.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was always impressed about, are the messages, the underlying messages, that each episode always had something
Yes, yes,
really,
yes,
really
yes,
insightful, very
yes,
heartwarming and
yes.
meaningful. Yeah,
And that was all Michael.
yeah,
You know, Michael was our boss. He was the executive producer. He was our boss. But he was, I say this, he was kind, he was thoughtful, he was a good boss, a tough boss. But if you did your job, our producer, Kent McCrae, would say you hire the best and you get out of their way. And that's what they did. A lot of the crew was with Michael on Bonanza, Little House, Highway to Heaven. He was very loyal to his crew as much as his crew was as loyal to him. It was a family. I still have many contacts. I'm gonna go to an event that our casting director has put on this Sunday, a fundraiser, and one of our prop master, who Lau lives in Arizona, and I haven't seen since I left the show, is going to be there, and I'm just thrilled about that. I just, you know, I'm just very, very blessed to have been a part of this. I didn't realize at the time, like I said, I was 20 years old and really had no clue, but to be brought into this fold, into this family, has been a true blessing in many ways for me.
Yeah.
Just scrolling back through the photographs, just to look back on what we've looked
Oh,
at.
okay, sure. Yes,
Just
thank you.
a picture I think we missed of you and Mary Yerke. There you are.
Yep, 20 years old.
Yeah, there
So
you are.
this is my mother-in-law, Mary Yerke. This is who, and she had never worked with Michael before. Uh, there was another script supervisor that was with Michael on Bonanza, but she was not available when they started to do Little House. So Mary had worked with Kent McCrae, our producer, on High Chaparral. So they brought um, Mary on, and this is from the pilot. And if you can enlarge what I put the pictures, and what's she said on the back of the pictures is the written part.
Yeah.
But she just talks about him, and that's Michael right there. He was silly, he was funny, he loved playing practical jokes on people, but not in a mean way, in a funny way. He just so this is filming the location. It says location on Mike Land and Ed Friendly Productions of Little House on the Prairie. Writer Laura Ingalls, January to February in Sonora. Um, so they were at a ranch in Stockton, and then uh, That's where they shot the pilot, and then after the pilot was picked up, that's when they built the town there in Simi Valley, and the rest is Little House history.
Wow. Another picture. My young Michael Landon there. And this again is just notes here, Charlotte.
What's that?
These are just more notes here.
Oh yeah, it just says Michael Landon, director and lead, Mary Yerke, script supervisor on location, Stockton, California, January 14th through February 7th, 1974, on Jim and Bruce Orvis Ranch, 15 miles of Stockton. We stayed at Vagabond Inn in Stockton. Michael is a real kook. Bless his heart.
Playful, you said. Playful and funny.
So this was part of the display at the 50th that I helped put. So I did some personal things of mine. This picture coming up is on location in Arizona for the episode The God Sister. So this is me with Michael and Merlin Olsen, and that's me with my scripts in my hand, and there. So anyway,
It was wonderful. Wonderful memories.
so this is I was watching an A&E biography on Michael Landon, and lo and behold, there's me and Michael on the set at the ranch. So that was kind of fun. So I took a screenshot of that when I was watching it, I don't know, a couple of years ago. But it's a nice biography. It talks a lot. He was, a very talented, gifted man. He would sit in his chair and he'd always have a yellow legal pad, and he'd be writing either notes for a new script or just he'd always be working. And he was one thing that I think can tell you some character of his. We were always done at work by 6 o'clock every single night, and that's unheard of in the business. And people said, "Oh, it's because you had children." Well, that's not the reason. The reason was that Michael wanted to be home for dinner with his family, and he wanted his cast and crew to be home for dinner with their family, and we were. Every single day we
Aw,
were done by 6 o'clock.
that's
And
wonderful.
yeah,
Me.
yeah. And he was just, when we would go on location, we always had a catering truck and we'd have lunch. And Michael was always the last one to eat. He always made sure everybody went. Michael had the same dressing room as everybody else. In fact, he shared a dressing room with Victor French, who played Mr. Edwards. There were no egos. The only time there was ever a separate dressing room was when Patricia Neal was on the show and she was just getting over sick. Other than that, everybody had the same dressing room. There weren't the egos. It didn't work like that. And we were done with our shooting schedule every day. It was just everybody worked so well together, and it was just, and for me to have no experience and to learn with all these professionals. And I say to people, I never felt intimidated by anybody, and especially by Michael. I never felt, and I worked very closely with Michael and the director and the actors and everything, and those were my main contacts. And I never felt intimidated, funny to ask anything. I never felt that I shouldn't ask anything. It was pretty special. And I think the other thing, when I had family in town, or like when Ray Bolger was on the show playing Tobino, I have pictures of my mom and my dad, my sister with him. I could bring family to the set. Um, and they could visit, and everybody was very welcoming. And it was, that open set where you felt that you could bring your family and share this time with them. And so that was really nice.
It is really nice. Okay, so we'll open it up to more questions. Is that okay, Charlotte? Or I think we've gone through all the slides and just learned so much. How about open it up to more questions?
Oh, I forgot to talk about our guest stars.
Oh, that's right.
you,
Thank
if
you.
you look at the list of guest stars,
Mhm.
it's just incredible. And just like I said, the people wanted to work with Michael. He had a reputation of being an incredible director, writer, and people wanted to work with him. So if you look at our guest star, and like I said, nobody had a special dressing room. I mean, it was a very light, happy set. Children, a lot of children on our show, a lot of laughter, fun, love. So things like that. So I'm always grateful and uh, humbled to be able to share that. And I thank Robin for wanting to do this, and thank you for all being here and everything.
Oh, it's our honor. Thank you so much for sharing your time.
Yeah, thank you. This was really a pleasure to see, and it's a
Oh,
great.
thank you for being here.
Yes, very interesting.
And it's always nice to hear directly from somebody who worked alongside somebody like
Yes.
Michael Landon, to hear that I'm going to tear up, you know.
Well, it's true. And sure. I mean, nobody's perfect in life, but I share my experience, and not only were they were my experience, the fact that so many of us are still close, that are still alive to this day, and have that same feeling and want to share it with everybody. That the fan base of Little House is just extraordinary. It's just so moving and so touching.
Yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I wanted to talk about the books, right? The books that were written by Laura Ingalls, and how that was a snapshot of history, those stories, and about her family. And she was, from what I understand, she was it was later in life that she started to.
Yeah, she didn't start writing her books until the 50s.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, she didn't, and encouraged by her daughter Rose to write the books. And just how the books, I'm sure, I know my granddaughters read them in elementary school. I have pictures of my oldest granddaughter. One time she had to dress up as a character, and she dressed up as Laura Ingalls with a little bonnet and her pinafore on and
Aw.
everything. But yeah, but the books are just, they're timeless. And sorry,
Right.
I have people that come up and tell me that they, excuse me, watch the show with their children, with their grandmother, and now they're a grandmother watching the show with their grandchildren and everything. Netflix is starting a new series that'll start, I think it's in July, and it's being produced by Ed Friendly, Trip Friendly, his son. Ed Friendly was the man that bought the rights to Little House. He was his daughter had the book, and she said, "Dad, you should read this book. I really like it." So he read it on the plane, but he's embarrassed to actually be reading Little House on the Prairie. So he like put it inside another book so nobody noticed that he was reading Little House on the Prairie. And when he got back, he went to NBC and, pitched the story of bringing the Little House on the Prairie books to life, and they bought it. And then Michael came in as executive producer and went on. But our show was based loosely on the books. I mean, when you have a TV show, you have to have a little more dramatic. Like the character Albert was never real. There were different things. Mary never got married in real life, but she was blind. There are things that were done for the show. But the Netflix show that's coming up in July, that's being produced by the Friendly, is more along the book. So that should be really exciting to see. And they've already cast the cast to play the Ingalls family and everything like that.
Oh,
So we're all looking forward to that because we're all in this together. There's no one way or right. We're all into sharing, good values and working together. I think one of the very first episodes, The Harvest of Friends, when Michael falls and he hurts himself and he got to get the feed stacked and then the town comes together. That's kind of how we were as a crew and a group. We all worked together. Nobody, you didn't feel like, oh, I'm not doing that. That's not my job. It was one of those things that, we all worked together as a team, and that's why it went so well. And
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's the best when everybody is able to help each other.
I agree. And
yeah.
I think that's why we're still in touch, with all of us that are left. And there aren't many. I was 20 years old and a lot of the crew were already in their 40s or 50s. So many have been gone for a long time. So
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you stop and think about, Melissa Sue Gilbert, she's gone. I mean, she's an old lady, she's not gone, but I mean, and then she was a child, so all of those before her are have
yes,
a lot of those have passed.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the children are, Melissa is, I think, 61, maybe. Allison about that. I'm lucky our casting director is still alive and still does things. I'm going to an event on Sunday where she's doing a fundraiser. So I'll see some of my cast and fellow crew there, which
Yeah.
will be nice. And
Wow.
we
That's
get
amazing.
together. We do things, we go out to dinner, we, share that time.
Reminisce. Could you tell us a little bit about where the horses came from?
Yeah, I was wondering about like how you guys what do you call it, sourced all the livestock because there must have been a lot.
Yes, there was. We had a gentleman, his name was Denny Allen, and he lived in Lakeview Terrace. And he really supplied all the wagons, livestock, things like that. So most of the time you would see him out at the ranch or if we were on location, and they just had the big horse trucks and bring them out there and then take them home every night and bring them out, that type of thing. Like I said, there was no electricity or anything like that on the ranch. That's why we didn't do any nighttime filming. But yeah, he was wonderful. And then Jack Lilly, who played the stagecoach driver, and he was also uh, Victor French's double. You would recognize him as in a big dark mustache and everything. He also was a wrangler, and his son Clay Lilly still does that. And they had an event in, I think it was Connecticut, and Clay brought a bunch of the wagons and buggies there that were used on the show for that event. So, it's nice that that's still in the family. The Lilies are still going strong, and I saw quite a few of them at service for Jack. He just passed away last year, and it was really nice to see a lot of them again.
Yeah. Wow.
Did you mention the ranch that provided the livestock, the horses, was in Lakeview Terrace? So is it still there or?
It's not, no. Denny Allen is no longer with us. I don't know if anybody in the family, um, if you go up to where Glen Haven is, the cemetery,
Yes.
off of Cagle Canyon. That is, I think it's Cagle Canyon. Off that way, that's where his ranch was in that area.
So
Oh,
back up in the mountains a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
And the
Oh,
dog,
so
sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
oh, no, I was gonna ask if so all the animals they came from the same ranch?
Usually, or they had connections.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
like the dogs, like the dog uh uh Jack, and then later Bandit, those are owned by dog uh wranglers or dog, like Jack was owned by the oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Famous dog. He did from Petticoat Junction and stuff like that. And then Bandit is owned by was trained and I believe owned by Brian Rimfo, who was very active in um animals. So they were considered part of the cast, kind of, like the Ingalls had the same team. It was Pat and Patty. There were two horses that pulled their wagon. Those are always
Oh.
the same team. Beautiful horses. Pat and Patty. They had a cow. Some episodes had like one had the raccoon or those were animals that probably the either Denny Allen had or somebody he knew had that they use. But these are working, animals that are trained for shows and stuff. There was one with the crow that landed on Keisha's head. That was trained. Brian did that one. Brian Renfro, yeah.
Oh,
So,
cool.
they're brought in, they're trained to work, movies, TV shows, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. You just brought back a great memory of that episode with the
The
crow on her hat.
crow, yeah,
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 I
yeah.
yeah,
forget the
yeah,
actress name, but
yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
was
yeah. And Merlin Olsen he was huge. I say the term gentle giant was made for Merlin Olsen. He played football for many years for the Rams as one of the
Yeah.
fearsome foursome. And I remember one time he took my hand and my hand fit in the side of his palm. But he was so humble and so nice. Oh, yeah. One of my most cherished uh, things I have from when he left Little House to go to work on Father Murphy that Michael produced. He wrote the crew just a letter, really nice letter of just thanking them and everything. And at the very bottom, he wrote a personal note to me, and it's one of my most treasured possessions of that time. The cast was just incredible, and like I said, I worked very closely with them, and just their family. That's what we call ourselves. We didn't work on a show together. We're family. And I see them regularly. I interact with them, through texts and calls and stuff like that. So
Right. Amazing. Wow, what a life. What a
I,
Yeah.
I was very fortunate, very honored, very humbled, all of that. And you know what? When I was doing it, I didn't know. I mean, I had no other experience, so I didn't really have anything to base it on. But all these years later, it's really, just if, when people tell how much the show meant to them and how it got through them, sometimes, and it's heartwarming. It brings you to tears. I mean, I've teared up many times listening to people and how they thank us for doing it. And we are thanking all of you, every fan out there, because, if it wasn't for you guys, it wouldn't be what it is today. And I see that at fan events, and I see that people over and over just reach out and just, are so grateful for that time and what it meant to them. Whether they watched it when it was on the air or seen it on the reruns, it's just got such an impact. So it's very touching.
you know, a snapshot of pioneer life, you know,
Yeah.
moving so much and, just think about the wagons and the way they moved and then this building their homes. It was all just, for parents, grandparents, a snapshot is they could remember some of that. Or, even stories that their grandparents or parents lived through that time. So yeah, I think that was the beauty of it all.
Yes. Yeah, that simple life.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yet hard, harsh, It was simple, but it was very harsh and hard.
Oh, it was harsh on you, very harsh. I mean, when you think of, all they had to do just to, and the weather, losing crops and just and then having to move to the big city and adapting to that, all of that, the changes and
Yeah.
losing children and through childbirth and everything. And yes, we have hard times now, and I think that can help us you know relate to some of it, some of the things that we go through in current life and everything. And that's why people say it gives them such comfort,
Yeah.
those good
Exactly.
feelings. And I always say I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I can't tell you, I mean, almost every time I watch it I cry. And
Yeah,
Michael
I
just
think
had that way. He just had, and he was that softy. He was, he was a, yes, he was my boss, but he was a great, giving, kind person and a smart, genius person,
um,
and
yeah.
gone too soon.
um,
Wow. What
yeah,
a tribute.
yeah,
What a tribute that you can say that about him.
Well, it's true,
But I mean, that's amazing. How many people can say that about somebody that they worked for and with?
Yes, yeah, yes,
Not very,
exactly.
not
And
very
like
many
I
people can
said, I
do that.
never felt intimidated by him. I
Uh,
never felt any of that. And and so yeah, I'm very blessed that I knew him.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice. Wow.
yeah. And Lisa calls in by phone, so she's been listening by phone. She said, "That's awesome, just awesome."
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if there's any more questions, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. We have been blessed that you have spent this time with us and um, shared just your how you got your job and just the whole experience and where we are 50 years later. That
I know, I
they
know.
they leased the land, right? They leased the land at the ranch, and so I think can you talk a little bit about what the details were around the lease of the ranch and the end
Well,
of the
it's
series?
when we were filming it, it was called Capo Ranch. Now it's called Big Sky Ranch. But when we were filming, it was owned by J. Paul Getty. Um, and like I said, a working ranch. So when they, went to the ranch to use it, they had the contract for, I guess, the run of the show. And that's also where they filmed Father Murphy, was also done at Tapo Canyon. Um, but then when the show was canceled, after that ninth season, and the part of the agreement with the ranch was that when the show was over, that the land would go back to its original look, meaning that the buildings
Oh,
would have to go. So of
gotcha.
course, Michael's not going to go out just by tearing down the buildings. He's going to write a script about it. So that's when he wrote the script, The Last Farewell. And unfortunately, I was not on the show. Maybe it's fortunately that I wasn't there, because I'm not sure I could handle seeing that. But so he wrote the script that this person was going to come in and buy up the land and everything, and that I think a railroad. So he decided, well, we'll just blow up the town.
Oh
So
my goodness.
they blew up the town. They blew it up when it was only a skeleton crew, special effects. camera, lighting stuff. No actors and actresses were there when they actually blew up the town. And then the next day or the day after, that's when they had all the cast and other crew come in to film. And the tears were real. Like I said, that was our home. When Michael blew up, he said the one thing he said, he didn't blow up the little house or the barn because they weren't technically part of the town. And he said he couldn't blow up the church. He said, I could never blow up a church. So he didn't blow up the church. But that was the agreement with the landowners, so that was the reasoning behind that episode, to use that moment and to kind of have, and plus Michael didn't want other companies coming in and using his sets. He didn't want them to disgrace that love
Honor that.
that we had for Walnut Grove.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that was another thing. He just didn't want that. He wanted those buildings to be left and loved for what they were. And so that's the reason, like I said, between the agreement with the landowners and the fact that he wanted to keep that land sacred to us as cast and crew, is the reason behind the episode The Last Farewell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so
But
much.
wow, what a way to go out though, to detonate it.
Well,
My-
absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know, Michael was always in charge. He was our boss. He was the final say. He was our main director, the lead, but that was his heart.
Yeah.
He really put his heart into everything. There was nothing half-assed. Excuse my French, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
Everybody that worked for him was that way. But that's why it worked so well together, because we all had that same work ethic and that love, and we all felt respected. And I remember Billy Claxton was one of our other directors. He was a great director. And I remember we were filming and Billy was directing, and I was, following along on the script, watching dialogue, and the actor, and it was a guest actor, it wasn't one of our regular ones. And he dropped a couple lines. So what I do when they drop lines, I put a parentheses around it in my script. And when they say cut, then I let the director know. And I went up to Billy, our director, and I said, oh, he dropped these lines. And the actor looked at me and he said, no, I didn't. And Billy looked at the actor and he said, if she said you did, you did.
Oh, wow.
And that's the respect that they had for the crew. I mean, they knew that when we said something, it was the truth. I mean, it wasn't.
And I guess to shoot it over then, rather than wait till the next day, or
Oh yeah, especially when you got, and if it was a guest star, maybe they weren't on call for the next day. So yeah, and with our schedule, how we had time to do that. Sure, there were times when we had to do a pickup shot for something or stuff like that, but that was rare. If an episode, it was funny. I don't know if you have seen the Runaway Caboose. It was shot up in Sonora area, Jamestown. It was when Laura and Carl and Mary, they unhook the caboose from the rest of the train, and it goes down the track, everything. That episode was always short on time. So whenever we said we had pickup shots to do, we always did joke, oh, it must be for the Runaway Caboose. But
Yeah.
normally we were pretty good with timing and enough time and part of that was, the dailies, seeing everything was shot for the day and having the notes from the daily log, how much time was done and everything like that. So like I said, it was well done on all accounts, from
Yeah.
the top all the way down to the bottom. bottom.
Yeah. I know you told me you had a stopwatch as well, right?
Stopwatch. That's yeah. So you would film, you would time whenever the camera was rolling. So the minute they said action, I would start my stopwatch and keep it running until they said cut. And then, as you can see in the script notes, on that side where I write the description, there's a column where it's got 1, 2, 3. Those are how many takes. And the one that's circled was the one that was printed, and then you could see the time that around. Some shots took 12 seconds, some shots took 2.5 minutes. It all depends. The master always took longer, the wide angle shot, and then the close-ups and all the individual shots took less time.
Wow.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you so much,
Oh, you're
Robin, for
welcome.
inviting me.
Thank you for all being for being here with us, and thank you again, Robin. I'm always happy to share. I Robin says, why don't you tell more people? Why don't you tell? I don't brag about it, but when people find out, I'm happy to
Yeah.
share because it was such an incredible part
Can I just brag on you?
of you too.
Can I just brag on you for a minute?
Oh no, yeah. Oh no, Ratty.
No, bragging. Okay,
bragging.
on you. I just want to
Go.
say, I knew Charlotte's mom, and it was so funny because I didn't know who you were. I didn't know what you did. I didn't know anything about you back then, Charlotte. So I apologize for that. But
That's
I
okay.
just, but other people did. And it was like when they would say, well, how's your daughter doing? Oh my gosh. Charlotte's mother her face would just light up, and she wouldn't brag on Charlotte. Yeah, I'm gonna make you cry because you made me cry.
Aw.
Okay. Yeah, and Charlotte's mom, her face would just light up and her eyes would sparkle as she talked about her daughter. But she never bragged on you. She never like made a big deal about, oh yeah, my daughter is working on, Little House on the Prairie with Michael Landon. Da, da, da. No, none of that. None of that. Very humble, very respectful of the privacy of your on film, on whatever you want to call it, on set family. She never divulged any of that. I never to the, until now, until Robin, said who you are. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know you. I
That's
know
so
you.
funny. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And we're lucky. My parents came to the set several times. And
Awesome.
when I would have family in town, I could bring them, my relatives from back east, my mom's side of the family, my dad's side of the family. I have pictures of them with Michael, with Melissa Gilbert. It was a very opening set for family and friends, and that was just and we knew everybody's family. We knew and like I said, we were a family, and yeah.
That's so awesome, isn't it? It's lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely to hear that.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very special for me. Thank you.
If nothing else, that's why I was here today.
Thank you.
Thank you
for that.
so much, Charlotte. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was lovely today.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. Thank you
Thank you
all
so
for
much,
being
Charlotte.
here.
It was a
You're
fascinating
welcome.
story
Thank
to
you.
hear.
Thank
I'm glad you shared it
you.
with us.
I'm going to stop the recording.